Um, the character I'm playing, Uncle or Angel in the English translation, as we've started calling him, I'd say is someone who really, really enjoys taking risks, but has a massive attitude problem to the current world we live in and how we, or most people, would view the world around us, how we go about our days. And he's very much, I guess you could say, like a cultural anarchist in the sense he wants to stay out of it or fight against it, find different ways of pushing against it. That can be either through manipulating situations or people, or just using like brutish, like masculine energy to get the things that he wants out of the world around him that hasn't allowed for him to get the things that he's wanted in the past. Well, the two characters in it, Angel and Lucia, by how both reflected, if you wanted to look at, I guess, like spiritual senses of it, obviously in biblical or any kind of religious text sort of thing. Lucia in the Catholic context or Greek Orthodox context was the patron saint of eye illnesses or blindness, and saints are always a guide, a guiding light. Where we've got Angel, which is either always the voice of God or a guiding force kind of thing, and these two forces meeting together, one a blind angel and one Lucia who is currently losing her sight or losing her will of the world. It's interesting when you have these two guiding forces mixed together and they're both meant to be guiding each other in their own warped way, and just sort of the drama that comes from that, these two immovable forces hitting each other, both being immovable objects as well. And just so that's where the drama comes from with these two characters. It's really hard when you talk about something like blindness as, if you're talking about it in the context of vision impairment and what blindness means. And I guess a lot of people have a really strict context and definition of what they think blindness is or what they think blind people are like. And it's always really hard because very, very few blind people, or people who are registered as blind, see nothing. They've still got some vision. Like I imagine if you have no vision, you're either missing your eyes or there's completely severed optic nerves and stuff like that to your brain. And what the play does with blindness, what I think when it uses blindness with the character of Angel, and how that comes about, he's a character who's blind, but to me, as a vision impaired actor, it's the complete opposite of what I've come to expect with disabled or vision impaired characters. He's very aggressive. He wants what he wants. He's a driving force. He's not on the sidebar. He's not calm and polite and kind and wanting to know where he is. He knows where he is and he wants to be there. He wants to put himself at risk. He wants to be in charge. And I think that's a really stark contrast to societal norms, what we imagine blind people are like and how they act and how they're meant to be. In terms of stereotypes, anything I'd say in terms of addressing the stereotypes is the character of Lucia. She has these impressions of Angel when she comes in and starts interrogating him about his blindness, says that he can't do the stuff, assumes he can't do anything, assumes he is weak because he's blind. And I think it's really great how the play then looks at really subverting these stereotypes and really, really shoving that back in the face of what people perceive blind people as. There's a big push at the moment, and I can only say one thing about it, that it's really great that there's more vision impaired artists out there who are getting recognition for their work or who are doing work, who are in gainful employment. I think that's because, everyone stands on the shoulders of giants. Like the people who came before us obviously did hard work to put these people in that position where they could be working. And perceptions are changing, albeit quite slowly. I often find the position of vision impaired artists in theatre and film really difficult to define because it's sort of one of those things where it begs the question of what a casting director or a director assumes someone with a disability or a vision impairment is like. They make a huge assumption about vision impaired people where I guess they might think that we wouldn't be able to do the work or we wouldn't be able to do the job or it'd be too hard to put us in that job. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous. Like personally, for me, it's whenever we talk about things of should non-disabled actors play disabled roles, I would say no, they shouldn't. Not at the moment. Not because of identity thing. Like I do believe that the best actor for the job should get the job. But the problem is which actors are being seen, who's being brought into the room. And I think you'll find that, statistically speaking, a lot of disabled performers aren't even being considered for these disabled roles because they haven't got enough exposure, or they haven't been in the right places or known the right people. And once we've evened that out, I have no issue with whatever my person wants to play, like a vision impaired person. But at the moment, it's not even. And for me, it's just purely about jobs. And these, as a vision impaired actor, I need work. I love doing what I do, but I also need to pay rent. And it's the same as every other artist out there. And it's just about getting us, or making sure every disabled person has the same opportunities. And then we can start talking about sharing like disabled roles with non-disabled people. That's just how I think about it. My processes and rehearsals is I'm just coming out of training at drama school now, and it's all been hammered into me what my process is and stuff like that. I think for me, I'm really, really big on text and going over the text, understanding the text, but also I really enjoy psychophysical ways of getting into characters, sort of imagining in things in a more abstract way, pretending that there's certain feelings inside my body or certain like objects on my body that create like a sense of emotion. Also, the way I might stand or balance myself might betray something about the character more. I find going the abstract really fun and really easily accessible for me. And it's just one of those things where, you know, I might imagine that there's a marshmallow on top of my head for an hour or something like that during a rehearsal process to see what happens. Because if you have that, the imagination is a muscle and you can train it, and you can train it to think about these things more, and it can be visual, auditory, kinesthetic imagination, and you can just imagine these feelings, and then you can imagine how they make you feel, or how they make you walk, how they make you carry yourself. That's sort of how I operate the rehearsal process. When looking at both the characters in terms of loneliness, I think with Angel and his loneliness, I think it's like a self-imposed loneliness because he doesn't like the world around him. He doesn't like the way the world around him operates. So he's always looking for ways of navigating the maze of stuff that he doesn't like. And I think Lucia obviously is lonely in the sense of a disconnectedness from the people around her, and that kind of, I don't know, a permanent state of melancholia. Whereas I think Angel, I don't think he's lonely. I think he's incredibly extroverted, but I think he just doesn't trust people, or he doesn't trust people's intentions. He sort of believes that everyone is lying and everyone is out to get him, so he's always got to find a way to be on top. So I think, I don't think he'd describe himself as lonely, but I think the actions he undertakes, you know, draw people away from him, or he pushes people away from him intentionally. I think people should come see this play because A, it's a really good cultural exchange when you've got like a Spanish text and an English translation. And I think that's really good to see the cultural differences and the cultural similarities and the ways that writing evolves in different places and what that does with characters and how characters operate. But I also think it's a really good piece just in terms of, like, it's quintessentially a feminist piece. And when I say feminist, I also include like its attitude towards disability and subverting these expectations of what I think we'd expect like a two-hander set in a hotel room to be about. I think there's something like really surprising and really tense that this play offers that people wouldn't really expect. And I think people will come in, see the kind of context of these two characters, expecting a certain cliche, or expecting for these characters to be a certain way. But then the piece really just rips that carpet out from underneath in the way that these characters carry themselves and interact with one another. And I think it'd be quite shocking, in a good way, for audiences to see it.